right, let's talk about it. We are going to crack one of the most intimidating parts of any software engineering interview, the low-level design question. By the end of this, you're not just going to understand it. You're going to walk away with a clear, step-by-step blueprint to tackle any LLD problem they throw at you.
Ever been there? The interviewer leans back and says, "So, design a parking lot system," and your mind just goes completely blank. You feel that panic start to creep in and you have no idea where to even start. Trust me, you are not alone. It's a huge stumbling block for so many amazing developers.
But what if I told you there's a structured, repeatable method that can guide you from that initial panic to a confident solution for any LLD problem? Well, that is exactly what we're breaking down today. This is your key to turning that interview confusion into total clarity. Okay, so before we get to the solution, we have to understand the problem. Why do so many incredibly smart developers get tripped up here? Well, it almost always comes down to a few common traps that are just so easy to fall into, especially under pressure.
Here are the three big culprits. First, that gut reaction to just start coding right away. Second, completely skipping over the requirements gathering phase. And third, designing something way too complex for what's being asked. These are the exact pitfalls our framework is going to help you avoid.
So, how do we dodge those bullets? It's simple, with a structured plan. So let me introduce you to the 7-step LLD framework. Think of this as your mental checklist, a reliable guide that's going to structure your thinking from the very beginning to the very end. And here's the roadmap. These 7 steps will take you all the way from a vague problem statement to a really well-designed, solid solution. So let's start at the beginning with what is, without a doubt, the most important step of all.
Step 1. This is the one that gets skipped the most, and it's the most critical. Before you even think about writing a line of code, you have to become an expert on the problem. Ask questions. What's the scale we're talking about here? What are the absolute core features? Are there any constraints I should know? This shows the interviewer you think before you leap.
Okay, now that you've got a grip on the requirements, you can start hunting for the main actors in your system. Just look for the nouns in the problem statement. You know, if you're designing an e-commerce site, you're immediately going to spot things like user, order, and product. These become the building blocks for your classes.
So, your objects don't just exist in a vacuum, right? They have to interact. This step is all about drawing the lines between them. For instance, is a car a type of vehicle? That sounds like inheritance. Does a user have an order? That sounds like composition. Mapping these relationships out is key to building a system that actually makes sense. All right, you've got your objects and you know how they're connected. Now it's time to actually flush them out. For each class, you need to ask 2 things. What does it know? Those are its attributes. And what can it do? Those are its methods. This is where your abstract idea starts to feel like a real thing.
Look, a design that just works isn't good enough. You need a good design. And this is where you show you're a real engineer. You start applying established principles. You think about solid. Does each class have a single responsibility? Maybe a factory design pattern could help create different vehicle types cleanly. This shows you're not just building for today, you're building for the future.
You notice that? We're on step 6, and only now are we really talking about writing the code. And when you do, the focus is all about quality. Is it clean? Can someone else understand it? Is it broken up into logical chunks? Your code should be a reflection of your clear design.
And finally, step 7. This is the pro move. This step is what separates a good candidate from a truly great one. Once you have a solution, take a step back and talk about how to make it better. How would this handle a million users? What about this tricky edge case? This shows real foresight and a senior engineering mindset. Okay, theory is great, but it's kind of useless without practice, right? So let's make this real. We're going to quickly walk through the first few steps of our framework using that classic problem, designing a parking lot system. So here we go. Step 1, requirements. I'd immediately start asking, hey, are we just talking about cars, or do we need to handle motorcycles and trucks too? Is the fee hourly or flat rate? And boom, the answers to those questions lead us right into step 2. We can immediately pull out our main entities. We're going to need a vehicle, a parking spot, and of course, a ticket. Now for step 3, the relationships. We can just say it in plain English. A parking lot is made up of, or has, many parking spots, and a ticket is associated with a single vehicle. See those simple connections? That's the skeleton of our entire system right there. And let's zoom in on step 4 with just one class, the vehicle. What does it need to know? Well, at a minimum, it needs a license plate and a type, right? Like car or motorcycle. And what can it do? A super basic method would be just to get its license plate. See how we're building this up, piece by piece, not all at once?
So before we wrap this up, I want to circle back to something really important: what not to do. Because knowing the framework is half the battle. The other half is making sure you don't fall into those common traps we talked about.
I'm going to say them again because they are that important. Number 1, don't jump straight into the code. Number 2, do not ignore the requirements. And number 3, don't build a spaceship when they're only asking for a skateboard. A simple, elegant solution always wins. The framework is there to keep you on that path.
So after all this, what's the one thing you should really take away from all this? What's the core mindset you should carry with you into that next interview? This right here. This is the key. An LLD interview is not a speed typing contest. It's a test of your thought process. They want to see how you think. Use this framework to make your thinking structured, clear, and just impossible for them to ignore. That is how you stand out.
Hey, if this structured approach helped clear things up for you, do us a favor and subscribe. We put out content just like this, designed to give you the practical tools you actually need to ace your technical interviews. We'll see you in the next one.